Today is our first assessment. If we go to Canvas and we look at tomorrow, do we see Unit 1 due at 6 p.m.? Refresh your Canvas. Refresh your Canvas and confirm that tomorrow you do see a 6 p.m. due date. Correct? Correct. Yes? 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. On my screen, I have 6 p.m. You guys do not have that? Can I get a confirmation from anybody? Yes. Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, so click on the Unit 1 assessment here. Do we see Unit 1 assessment BlackJack? Okay, great. In this assessment, your task will be to build a BlackJack command line application. The MVP, meaning the basic requirements of the project, is a one-player game, right? A one-player game, you keep getting cards until either you win or the computer wins, right? You could use Google, Stack Overflow, your notes, your resources, everything you have at your disposal, but just not each other. So far, so good? Great. Now, let's go ahead and click on the GitHub assessment link here. At this point, it should be public. We all should have access to it, correct? Yes? Okay, I need feedback so I could go on and make sure that we're all on board here. Great, so this is the assessment. It says BlackJack command line application. We'll come back to the GitHub instructions, but for now, let's overview and we'll come back to that. So here, in this assessment, as I said before, your task will be to build a BlackJack command line application. The MVP of the project is a one-player game, right? Project overview, those are the files, the basic required files you need for the project. There's a card file you need that comes with the project, right? There's a suit that you need to create, right? All the instructions are in there, right? There's a free card you need to create. Again, all the instructions are in there. When you come to creating your raw values, very simply, you could copy the emojis. Everybody with me? Copy that emoji, go to your enum file, and just paste it in there. Everybody with me? All right, great. We have a player we need to create here. It's a struct. We have the game, very similar to our trivia game. It's a class, right? We need to create that. And again, all the basic instructions are there. The properties you need to create, right? The computed properties you need to create. We saw computed properties in our trivia game. The methods you need to create are also there. And the main.swift file, there's also instructions to the basic requirements you need for that project. This is what the GIF looks like for MVP, right? It starts off welcoming the user to the game, what the game is. As the user either has an option to hit, meaning get more cards, everybody, get more cards, or pass, right? Meaning I do not want any more cards. Everybody with me? The minute the user says pass, you need to get a random number from the computer, okay? We know how to get random numbers. We use int.random. Everybody with me? So get a random number. It could be a range, right? A range from 16 to 21 or 18 to 21 based on what you want. Everybody with me? And based on that number, you compare between that number and the computer number and your score and decide who wins. Everybody with me? If the user decides to keep hitting, they get to 21, BlackJack, they won the game. Everybody with me? If they go over 21, they lost the game. That's bust. So far, so good? So there's three scenarios. One scenario, the user stops, and then the computer gets a number, and then you compare there. Second, BlackJack. Third, the user goes over 21. 21 meaning the number 21. Anybody not familiar with BlackJack? Okay, if you're not familiar with BlackJack, we could simply do a Google search here. BlackJack 21. Right? I will slug this out. But basically, yes, it's a command line app, right? We're not building a GUI application. But the basic premise of BlackJack, when you play the game, Our game is simple. Our game does not deal 2 cards at once, right? But this particular game, I create a new game. We have no betting. The game is very simple. We do not have betting. You see the betting here? We do not have betting in our game. So our game, let me start, I'll say bet 1 here. In our game, the basic part of it is deal. Deal is hidden. Everybody with me? Yulia? Deal. You see the word deal here? It means to hit, to get more cards. Right? So the basic part of our game, we have hit or we have pass. Hit means deal, get me a card. Any questions? So here, if I say, the user says, go ahead and hit me, they get a card. In this particular case, they get 2 cards. In our case, we get 1 card. So far, so good? So far, so good. So the user here gets 2 cards. Their score is 4, right? In our game, there's a score. Each card has a value, right? In our case here, 2 is 2, 2 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. So far, so good. In that case, we want more cards. Look, so we want more cards. What do? We hit, right? We hit, we get the next card. At this point, what do we have? Our score is 8, right? At this point, we're not going to stop because the possibility of we getting, it doesn't even matter. The maximum card we could get is 10 or 11, and that doesn't break us. So far, so good? Actually, 11 would make us win in that case. Anyway, let me hit again. I'm 12. Do I want to continue hitting? Okay, I'll hit again. You could get a 10 and bust, by the way. At this point, we see that, right? Everybody? Right? But still, you're not going to stop at 12 because the computer is going to be guaranteed to win at this point. So I hit again. Boom! Look at that. Right? Real time. Right? If our game had betting, we could have put more money in, right? But yes. Okay, so Mel, I know we're excited, right? We've never been so excited for an assessment. But Mel is asking a question. The ace could be either 1 or 11. Everybody with me? Tiffany, you talking? Later, I'm not going to be able to talk back. I'm just kidding. But the ace could be either a 1 or 11. Everybody with me? I wrote the game logic for that already. Or I wrote the card function for that already. You could either pass in a 1 or 11. That's already factored in the skeleton project we have. The scaffold project we have, we do not have to create the cards ourselves. I've done that part already, right? God bless me, I like that. Just keep it going all day. Okay, so that part is there, and at that point, I won the game. So far, so good? Yes, question. When you pass, you stop. At this point, you need to generate a random number for the computer so that you play against the computer. Because if you stopped at 18, the computer needs to get its own number in order for you to see who won. Right? Because stopping at 18, you're not going to win anything there. If you stop at 18, you're playing against yourself or the computer. Exactly. Exactly. I wouldn't do between 1 and 21. Maybe do between 18 and 21. Give the computer a higher chance of winning. Because you've gone to a casino, right? The house always wins, basically, right? It wouldn't be as... What's that? It's up to you. Make your odds whatever your odds want to be, okay? If you want to do 0 to 21, great, do that. But ideally, you want to keep maybe 18 to 21, so keep the game more competitive. Everybody with me? Yes, sir. They automatically win, yes. In our game, they automatically win. In our game, the only time the computer gets to pick a card is if you stop before 21. If it's a tie, it's a tie. You say it's a tie. I think we have a tie in the GIF there. If it's a tie, it's a tie. If you have time to make the game more, to add more challenges in there, like you're saying, do that. Feel free there. Cool. All right. Yes. You only generate a game for the computer if you pass. Other than that, you're just playing to see if you get to 21. Or bust. All right, should we play again or are you guys good? You guys good? I will slack this out. Yes. Yeah, that's up to you. That's up to you. Yes. Yes. Very good. All right, so let's go back here. Good, good, good. Where are we? We are here. Okay, so this is the MVP GIF of the game. As you see, that user, that particular user is hidden. They're hidden, right? The computer won with BlackJack here because they passed. Do we see that? Do we see that? Let me take it a little bit more there. Part of it is like as you going through it again, you could make screenshots for yourself. You could make notes for yourself. All right, and the GIF is actually in there too. You could download it too and play it or stop it based on what you want. Okay, so now here, let's see. So the computer won. Do I want to play again? Yes. Right. I hit. I got 6. I hit. I got 16. I hit. I got 23. I bust. Everybody with me? All right, I play again, I got 5, 15, 24, I bust again, I played again, hit 8, hit 17, hit 21, right? And I won. Everybody saw that? All right, very good. So this is the rubric for the game. Basically, what we've been doing throughout, if you've concluded the game, you've concluded the rubric. So do not go to the rubric and be like, oh, did I hit all the points on the rubric? If you did everything and the game is working at this point, the rubric is basically a reassurance that you went through all the concepts we've gone through in Unit 1. So far, so good? It hits classes, enumerations, structs, optionals. The game has all that concepts in there. So that's what the rubric is there to highlight. We are using functions as well. How to use a function, how to call a function. Like knowing all those fundamental language concepts there, that's what the rubric is highlighting. And the numbers you see or the letters you see there, those are standards. Right? We'll go through the standards again, but those are standards. Standards with what you should know after finishing Unit 1. I should know how to write a function. I should know how to write a class. I should know how to define a property. Yes, sir. I've outlined everything. If there's anything else you want to go outside of the scope, you're free to do so. Talking about outside of the scope, we do have a bonus. We have a bonus. Let me take this smaller here. Right, we do have a bonus here. If you want to create a 2-player game, there's a chance to create a 2-player game. You against somebody else, right? Obviously, you're in the game yourself. You'll be playing against your imaginary friend. So far, so good? So we have a 2-player game there where you play against somebody else. All right, so that's just a 2-player game if you want to go ahead and do that extra credit there. So far, so good? All right, cool. So let us go back to GitHub. All right, so instructions, fork this repo. Let's all go ahead and fork the repo right now. So right now, I do not have any forks. I'm going to refresh here. We all have access to the repo now, right? Everybody? Okay, everybody go ahead and fork. I'm seeing people forking. Great. I'm going to fork myself. Okay, so I have my fork. At this point, we all have our forks, correct? Excellent. What's the next step? What's the next step? Julia? Clone, right? So clone my fork, correct? All right, so I'm cloning my fork, right? I'm not cloning Joint Pursuits. This is my fork, Alex Paul here. So far, so good? I will click the green button here that says clone or download. I will copy the URL. So far, so good? I will go to terminal. I'll go to terminal. I'll navigate to documents. I'll navigate to documents. Right? I'm in documents. I'm not going inside any other folder. Everybody with me? I'm in documents. I'm at the top level of documents. I'm not going inside the next folder that has a repo already. Everybody with me? What am I doing now? I'm not creating a folder. All I'm doing is get clone and paste in the URL and press return. At this point, I am cloning whatever that project has, right? It might take a bit longer because there's some GIFs in there and there's some assets in there. How's your Wi-Fi? Is it done? Is it still downloading? What percentage you guys on? 30. Okay. We all on the same Wi-Fi? No. Has anybody finished theirs yet? Whiteboard? Yeah. If anybody finished, let me know. All right, keep reading through the README, and please ask me any questions as we wait for that download to happen. Right? The first thing we'll notice when this finally finishes and we run the application is we have 5 errors. We have 5 errors. As we go through, please read this top down. As we go through the app description, we went through the app description already. The first part is the card, right? In keeping with object-oriented programming in the BlackJack game, a card will be the main data of the game, right? The card, let's go to the card actually. I could go to the card here. So if we navigate, we could all navigate actually. So click on BlackJack or follow along with what I have here. So if you click on BlackJack folder. We all will have a card.swift in there. So click on card.swift, right? This is what's provided. We have a struct. Can we all see here? Can we all see in the back? Can we all see in the back? Let me know when. All right. All right, so here, we have to-dos. We all will have to-dos. Let me double check on the download. We all will have to-dos here, right? This is going to be broken because we do not have a suit. Everybody sees that. There's no suit file yet in that project. So far, so good? There's no suit. There's no face card. We need to create that. How do we create that? We have instructions on how to create it. The instructions are right here. Instruction says, create a new Swift file called suit. Create a new Swift file called face card. And all the instructions are there for those 2 enums. So far, so good? When you've successfully created those 2 enums, your project will build without errors. So far, so good. So we start out with 5 errors. We create those two files. We go through the steps, and we'll have no errors. Then we could continue. The next step would be to create the player struct. The player struct has the following properties. The player has a score. The player has a score. The player has cards, right? A cards array. How do I know what cards I currently have? So far, so good? So the player has a cards array. The player has a name, if in case you want to give the player some name. The main logic is in the game, right? You'll create a game class, right? Create a game class here. You start out with the properties for the game class. You have a deck. A deck is what? An array of cards. So far, so good. It's an array of cards. We have a player, right? Hit player, true or false. If the player says, I pass, you want to change this to false, right? So you're not getting any more cards. You have has more cards, right? Is there more cards in the deck? Random computer choice, that's a computed property. It just returns it returns what type? An int, not true, an int, right? One of the numbers you choose. If you said a number between 18 and 21, it will choose one of those numbers. You have a new game method, it resets the game. Do I wish to continue? Go ahead and reset the variables you need to reset. Stop hits, right? I do not want to get any more cards. That's where you want to do some logic, right? That's where you want to do the logic. The user doesn't want to get any more cards. Go ahead and generate a random number for the computer and compare those numbers. And that's where you stop the game. Like one of those people wins. Either the computer wins or I win. Hit me, its objective is to get a card. So far, so good? So hit me gets a card. Computer versus player, that's the logic where you want to say who won the game between the computer versus the player. Game status, every time you get a card, you should see what the score is. Everybody with me? Here, you probably want to make some extra notes for yourself. All right? Takes in the player's card and determines the current score. Here, the player score options can be blackjack, bust, or continue playing, right? If I'm 18, I haven't won the game, right? If I'm at 21, blackjack, the game should be done. Everybody with me, right? If you continue playing, no problem. You just continue playing there, right? The main part, create an instance of game. We know what that means. Because you can't call any instance method without creating an instance of game in your main.swift file. Call new game on newly created instance. What does new game do, right? Let's see what new game does. The new game instance. Can anybody tell me what this type method, does? That's not an instance method, a type method. What does that do? Based on the signature for the function, what does it do? But what does it do? Walk me through what the function does. It takes like an ace value, correct? And we all agreed ace could be what? 1 or 11. So far, so good? So you create a new game with this function. You say game.newDeck. Everybody with me? Right? Game.newDeck is the way you call that function. You can call that function through an instance. Everybody with me? What does it return? An array of cards. Very good. How many cards is in that array? One. That would be a dull game there. How many? 52, according to Luba and Chelsea together. Right? That was a team effort. 52 cards comes back. Everybody with me? How do I get 52 cards? We wrote the logic already for that. You don't have to sweat on that one today. Unless you want us to just have that as the assessment. Right? So here we created 52. What's that? No comment. Okay. All right. So here we have the cards getting created. We go through the 2 to 11, because 2 to 11 is whatever it is, or 2 to 10, sorry, does not include 10. It creates that, puts it into our cards array. It goes to the face cards, creates that, and lastly, does the ace value. So at the end of all those for loops here, we have 52 cards. So far, so good? So that part we don't have to worry about. We have that already. It's done. We call that function, we get 52 cards. We could continue playing the game. Everybody with me? Everybody with me? When you do your hit function, let's go back to the hit function. When you do your hit function here, you should be removing a card from the deck, like we did with the trivia game. Do you remember the trivia game? Right? You do not want to have a jack of diamonds appear every time, do you? So when you say, get me a card, remove that card. You could go back to the trivia game. That logic is the same, right? I say, get me a question. Yes, sir. Yeah. Not necessarily. Stop hits has the computer versus method in it. You see me? If you feel like you could do without it, that's fine. But stop hits gets called, and then computer versus player is inside of it, gets called inside of it. It's like a helper method for that, for lack of a better word. So you could write helper methods and make your method smaller. Yes, sir?
What's the progress on?
Oh, let me see. Mine is done. So at this point, if you don't have any questions, I will stop. Your project will eventually finish downloading. We'll get to that. Any other questions so far? Anybody else got theirs to finish completing yet? Okay, so half the class is there, so we're good. We'll get to the other half very soon. What's your question, Tiffany? The deck, right? This guy. You're not to worry about this one. Part of programming, you don't have to worry about every single function you use. Like we don't worry about the inside of components, separate components with string, by string. We know what it does for us. In that particular case, know what it does for you. What does it do for you? It gets you 52 cards. All right? I want a new deck, I call this function. Okay? It gets me 52 cards. What's that? Yeah, 2 to 11 or 2 to 10 is the card number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then it goes to the next function. It creates the face cards like Queen, Jack, and Queen. Queen, Jack, and King, sorry. And then the last one is the ace. All right? And the ace is 4, right? 4 cards. Everybody with me? So the inside of what's happening here, do not worry about it for now. Very, very good. But what it does for us is gets us 52 cards. 52 unique cards, by the way, right? They all have their own number and their own face or their own suit, right? That's why we have the 2 enums there, right? So without the 2 enums being created by you, this is not going to work. Because right now when you run it, there's going to be an error, cannot find suit. If you do not conform by case iterable, you'll get also an error because this is going to fail, right? So I have all the instructions in the lab. Why are you smiling at me like that? I have the instructions in the README. All the instructions are in the README. If there's anything that's unclear, we're free to. One game, yeah. One game at a time. So let's go back to what we created. So we're creating the suit and we're creating the face card. And here, pay attention to this. We should know what this means by now. What does case iterable do? It what? Yes, but what exactly is that functionality? Yes, it gives you access to all cases on the enum. Very good. So we need to conform to that on our enum that we create, and we need to make our enum raw value type string. All right? All the instructions are there. They're the same. 4 instructions for suit, 4 instructions for face card. So far, so good? All right. So let's navigate to, yes, sir.
What do you do if it just fails?
If it fails?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, the big cloud,
It will eventually work. Okay. The minute everybody downloads theirs, you'll get yours. It's not going to fail. If I have a call.
Yeah, it might fail.
So
like,
close it again.
I can't do this right now.
Okay, so create a poker game instead. Okay, so let's go. Let's go ahead and open our project for people who have their project. People still downloading, I'll go around and make sure that you onboarded correctly. Okay, so let's go ahead and open or navigate. Let's pay attention here if yours is still downloading, please. You're doing either of 2 things. One, either you're looking at the screen or you're following along. So here, let's CD to Pursuit. We CD into Pursuit CoreOS Unit 1 assessment. So far, so good, yes? We in here, we do an LS. Those are the files we have, folders. I will navigate to my BlackJack, CD into BlackJack. So far, so good. So far, so good. Do we all see blackjack.xcodeproj? Okay, we're going to open that by typing in open, blackjack, tab over, .x, tab over. So at this point, you should have open space blackjack.xcodeproj. So far, so good? Okay, I press enter or return. It opens up my project. It opens up my project. I will get a bigger preference, style font going here. All right, if I build my project by pressing Command B, I'll get 5 errors as we promised, right? So here we have 5 errors, right? If your stuff is not showing up, pay attention to where my mouse is. I will zoom in. If I'm on the triangle, I'm seeing my errors. So far, so good. That's showing you what errors you have. If you want to see the files you have, you go to the first folder on the left. Do we see that? I click on it, and here I have a card. Everybody sees the card. And I have my main.swift. So far, so good. So far, so good. The card, we basically went through the card already. There's to-dos there. We said what the to-dos were. You need to create the suit and the face card. Look at the README again to see what's happening there. After I've concluded my suit and my face card, I should be able to run my project and get how many cards here? How many cards? 52 should get printed with no errors, right? So at that point, I could continue working on my project. So far, so good? So far, so good. Who's still cloning? Okay, so that number got down to half again, so 25% left. Of the 75% who are cloned already, I want us to all push to GitHub. So we'll push to GitHub. We'll just add some simple comment here, pushing to GitHub, like that, right? We just added a comment. It could be in any file. I just want to test pushing to GitHub. When you create the game, you have to create a new file. So you go to File, New, Swift file. Cool? Okay, so at this point, we added some comment, right? Whatever comment we wanted. So far, so good. Of the 75% of people, their clone is done. Now, what do? We go to Terminal. We go to Terminal. If I type in get status, I should have changes now. So far, so good. I added a comment in the main.swift file. You could add a space. Anything you add will be a change. When you've added a change, go to Terminal and type in get status. Yes, go ahead.
How come it says BlackJack.xcode proj is red as well as BlackJack/mainstream?
You mean for the get status?
Yeah.
You probably changed 2 things. Don't worry about it right now. We'll just add everything. If you have a next problem, come to me. Okay, so at this point, what are we doing? We're going to get add all, right? So get add dot here. Get add everything. Everybody with me? Everybody with me? Press enter. And what are we doing next? Get commit. I'll simply say testing commits. Right? Testing commits. I'll press enter. And what's the next step? Get push. I'll press get push and press enter. I have no problem right now. I do not get permission denied. I do not get any weird error because I'm pushing to my fork. Everybody with me? Right? So at this point, we are ready to start working on the project. I will stop here.